The founding CEO of PayPal calls Bitcoin a scam, while some crypto holders are placing Bitcoin under their skin to keep it secure. The major bank, BBVA, issued a $91 million loan using two blockchains. And we have an exclusive interview with Mr. Tim Draper himself, where he explains why he believes that Bitcoin will hit 250K by 2022. Tim also talks about his new book, How to Be the Startup Hero, a guide and textbook for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, and how the context of the book relates to the world of crypto. These exclusive stories and more are the topic of discussion today as Sarah Austin and I break down the latest and greatest crypto and blockchain news. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite snacks, and get ready to listen to episode number 120 of the Bad Crypto Podcast with the Crypto Chicks.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
Yeah, so let's just jump into the news for this week.
All right, let's jump in,
Let's
Rachel.
jump into it. So the former PayPal CEO calls Bitcoin a scam. Did you hear that, Sarah?
I heard this because you told me about it just now, but I think it's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, me too. It's making headlines. Apparently, the founding CEO of PayPal Holdings, Bill Harris, is joining this whole list of Bitcoin critics now, and he's saying that Bitcoin is a complete scam, a colossal pump and dump scheme. And he is saying to be careful, it's gambling, and be careful, it's a bubble, it's a scam. So that's what he's saying.
It's like, I get it. You're the CEO of PayPal, which is a fintech company. But what makes you Mr. PayPal founding CEO?
I think he's a former PayPal CEO.
Yeah, founding.
Yes.
He's the former founding
Yes.
PayPal CEO.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, okay, mister, what makes you an expert?
I know, right.
He's old school.
He's old school. And I mean, I feel like, PayPal, it's a great service, but I mean, it's an intermediary. It's a third party. It's one of those, the things that stands in between the whole peer-to-peer system. So in a way, it makes sense for, the former founder of PayPal to say that it's a scam because, they're kind of taking the opposite approach of decentralization.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, is he just trying to make PayPal more valuable and scare people away from it? I don't know. But whatever his motivation is, he's definitely against cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. One thing I will say in response to this is, what, does he just believe in inflationary models? Because Bitcoin itself is a deflationary economic value model that only has so many Bitcoins out there. So it creates this transparency and this trust. I mean, how is that a scam? It's like inflationary currencies would be more of a scam.
Right. Well, he also wrote, he said, in what rational universe could someone simply issue electronic script or just announce that they intend to and create out of the blue billions of dollars of value? It makes no sense. So he's just saying, how does it make sense for, some random person to start creating all these Bitcoins and having them be worth a unit of value?
Well, yeah. And then also in this article here, they're quoting the NYU economist Nouriel Roubini as saying Bitcoin is the biggest bubble in human history. But what I think Nouriel is missing is that this is not a bubble. This is a revolution.
Everyone, it's not a bubble.
Yeah.
It is bigger than the internet.
Yeah. Who are you going to listen to? Some former PayPal CEO? Or are you going to listen to Tim Draper?
Right.
I don't know. It's your choice, people. You can do whatever you want.
Decide after you hear our interview with Tim. Then let us know what you think.
Let us know. You can tweet me. I'm at Sarah Austin.
And I'm at Rachel Wolf00. Anyways, moving right along in the news. So I was reading recently. So if you guys haven't heard, the My Ether wallet was hacked and a lot of people lost Ether. And basically, it was a DNS hijacking. A very sophisticated attack was launched on my Ether wallet. A bunch of people lost their Ether. And so, basically the point is that deeper security measures need to be taken when protecting cryptocurrencies and digital wallets.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so.
Yeah.
Or just don't fall for a scam.
Right. Don't fall for a scam. But then again, this was a very sophisticated scam.
Yeah, that's true.
It was very sophisticated.
Yeah.
But anyway, so deeper security measures need to be taken. One guy is taking this to the extreme. Talk about deeper security measures. This guy is using a subdermal microchip wallet where he has planted his Bitcoin underneath his skin to keep it safe.
Yeah, so he's implanting this device into his skin, and it's going to make his Bitcoin apparently more safe, although I don't really know how safe it is because they said he might get cancer from it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think according to this article that we're reading here, this is an FDA-approved process, but there are studies linking NFC chips to cancer. So the guy is putting Bitcoin underneath his skin to keep it safe, yet he is, I guess, putting himself at risk because now he has a higher chance of getting cancer.
Yeah, and it's a near-field communications chip, and it stores 888 bytes of data per chip. And that's enough storage for 26 encrypted Bitcoin address keys. I mean, it's not so strange in Sweden.
Right, because you were saying in Sweden now that workers are actually implanting microchips, I can't speak today, to replace cash cards and ID passes.
Yeah, so people are getting into their office buildings by scanning their wrist.
Yeah.
It's like the cyborg future is upon us. And now people are thinking it's more safe to put an implant in your skin to hold your Bitcoin keys. But at the same time, that could create a whole new level of crime. Because let's say I put it in here, right?
In
my wrist.
Sarah's pointing to her wrist, everyone.
I'm pointing
She's
to my
her
wrist.
Bitcoin into her wrist as we speak.
Ow, Rachel, stop.
Oh, God. Blood is gushing everywhere.
Rachel's cutting my wrist open with a knife.
I'm only trying to protect your Bitcoin, Sarah.
Someone call 911.
That's the ambulance coming to collect Sarah and her Bitcoin.
No, that's the police coming to arrest Rachel.
Because I'm a murderer. I'm killing you for your Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh, it's so extreme, this guy. It's really
it is extreme, but it's funny because it reminds me of like when I was 8 years old and I went to get my ears pierced at a body piercing place in the mall. Apparently this guy had the procedure done at a body piercing studio.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's like you walk into the piercing studio with your Bitcoin and say, hey, can you please implement this under my skin to keep it safe?
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
It's weird. It's like piercing your ears, but not.
Also, doesn't he become a target?
Right.
To people who might kidnap him to get his Bitcoin?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me you have the option of being an organ donor.
Yeah.
Could you have the option now of being a Bitcoin donor when you have your Bitcoin underneath your skin?
Yeah, only though instead of someone taking your organ because, you died in a motorcycle accident, people are just going to kidnap you and chop off your arm.
Right. Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Anyway, that's new news.
That's crazy news.
What else do we have? Oh, speaking of Crypto Rico, have you guys heard of Crypto Rico? It's where all of these people are going to form a crypto society. It's kind of like the anarchists are moving to Puerto Rico to establish their own crypto nation. And if you go there, you can buy everything in crypto. Like all the vendors on the streets are taking crypto. They prefer it. And they're really building a community out there. Brock Pierce has been leading that. And we'll hear more from him about it. But what's the news?
Yeah, so the latest from Crypto Rico, aka Puerto Rico, is that a blockchain insurance policy is being developed for hurricane-prone Puerto Rico. So basically, the firm behind a blockchain protocol for the insurance industry has designed a decentralized policy to cover natural disasters in Puerto Rico, which makes sense because clearly Puerto Rico is very prone to hurricanes.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So basically, this is a distributed platform, and the new policy will cut premium costs by eliminating the middlemen that are usually involved in the insurance claims process. And it also, since it's on the blockchain, it will provide more transparency with every transaction visible for both insurers and residents.
That is very Crypto Rico of them.
It's so Crypto Rico of Puerto Rico to have this insurance-based blockchain thing going on now.
Yeah, and it's very hippie.
Very hippie, yeah.
It's like the hippie ethos, coming out, cutting out the middleman.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of blockchain technology being used in different industries now, well, I guess being used more for mainstream things.
Mm-hmm.
I also read that my bank, BBVA, is they just issued a loan of $19 million using two blockchains.
Okay, so is that fiat or?
Yeah, so they issued the loan was in fiat, and they did it using blockchain technology.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It's like, what's the difference? That's interesting though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just think it's cool that blockchain technology is becoming more mainstream now, and we're seeing it in the news, like what Puerto Rico is doing with the insurance policies, what BBVA is doing to issue fiat loans, like fiat US dollar loans, euros. So, I mean, it's like Tim Draper said during his interview, blockchain is going to be bigger than the internet, and this is why.
Yeah, definitely.
And without further ado, let's jump right into our interview with the one and only Mr. Tim Draper. Sarah and I are here at Draper University, aka Hero City, to interview Mr. Draper, a man who normally doesn't need an introduction, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with him, he is an American venture capitalist, founder of Draper University, an early Bitcoin investor, author, influencer, and overall superhero.
Thank you, Tim, for coming on our show.
Great. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Yeah,
Rachel.
thank you for joining us,
Great.
Tim.
Yeah, this is terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, in your book, The Startup Hero, you write about some definitions of what the hero is, and you specifically talked about how a hero goes long. And in crypto, that's a term we use, hodling, for going long.
Ooh.
Did you know that?
Well, first,
Probably.
I am thrilled you read my book. And second, yes, I am a hodler. And I've been, in fact, hodling is a part of the song that I sang, the startup or the Bitcoin hustle.
Yes,
We missed that.
We actually left just
unfortunately.
before that, but Jessie got some on her Instagram feed.
We've got a big thing about hodling. I wrote the lyrics and I sang it over here with Kelly James, and we had a great time. Anyway, he created the song, I created the lyrics, and so we're all hodlers.
Can we have a clip of you singing?
Yeah,
You're rapping.
I'm happy to send it to you. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, it was fun. It was great fun. I did that all before I did the prediction and the mic drop.
Tim Draper, everybody. Tim Draper. He's a rapper, investor. I mean, what else?
And a mic dropper.
And an author, mic dropper, all of the above. So what do you think?
Is it a long-term program? Yes. What's really interesting is in the book I say always sacrifice short-term for a long-term gain. And it really always makes sense, because when you're trying to do something short-term or gain something short-term, never really works out. I'm just going to take this from you, and then it leaves bad taste in people's mouth. It doesn't make any sense. But if I say, okay, together we're going to work on this water, and eventually we're going to redirect the Hetch Hetchy and make it a much better river, and we're going to improve our infrastructure in California, we're going to have better water. That's something we can all get behind, and we all sort of want to have happen. And so having sort of a long-term approach to everything from investing to being an entrepreneur to living your life is definitely the way to go, because it's a pretty long life.
Right.
And it's about making an impact too.
Yes, having a long-term goal too is very important, and thinking about your entrepreneurial venture as something that has to be around in 15 years is always a good exercise. You have a good company, but are you doing something that's going to just be good for a couple of years here, or are you going to be able to do something that's really going to take us to a place way out there and make the world a better place? So, like, what are you doing with your media business? You're doing all these long-term, short-term sacrifices. So long-term, you're going to have a big audience, and you can have a big influence, really improve the world.
Well, yeah, that's the Bad Crypto podcast for you.
Okay,
We've got
yes.
a big audience, but we're still a new podcast. In your book, you talk about this.
Yeah, Forbes is a little different approach, but yeah,
Right.
It's still long. They've got to stay long-term too. They got to be thinking what's going to be out there.
Exactly.
They want to be good at predicting too, because otherwise people stop reading.
Right. Good point. So in your book, you talk about heroes.
You read my book too.
Yes.
I love this.
We both have read your book, and
are awesome.
We're very excited because you talk a lot about heroes and startup heroes. But how do those terms relate in the world of crypto? Like, are the hodlers the heroes, and who are the villains? You know, you don't talk about villains.
Are they
I
the
don't
regulators?
talk very much about villains. Well, regulators, if they're light touch regulators, they're heroes too.
Okay.
But if they are heavy handed and they're saying, oh, we regulate this thing, and so now there's this new thing, we've got to regulate that, I think that's the wrong approach to regulation. So it's like, hey, we regulate IPOs, so let's regulate ICOs the same way. Well, an IPO is a $4 billion business with thousands of employees, and it's not that big a deal to fill out a few forms. For an ICO, they're just starting to get going, and they don't, and it's usually two girls and a dog, and they're just getting going, and they're figuring it out. And here we're going to do an ICO. Well, really, do we want to spend our first $10 million on lawyers so that we can regulate to get, so that we're well protected from this dark cloud that stands over us? Or do we want to just fill out a quick form with a country that's less regulatory heavy? Anyway, you got me going on that. But what's a hero? Hero takes a long view. It's sort of a long shot at a low probability outcome, but it's a big outcome. So it's something that may or may not happen. It's like Elon Musk saying, we're going to Mars. And if he says we're going to Mars, the likelihood of that happening in the next few years is pretty low. But if it happens, what a hero he ends up being. What an extraordinary thing to have stood out there alone saying, we're going to Mars. And then 95% of us were just kind of going, oh, that's crazy. But a few of the best engineers in the world say, I want to help that guy get to Mars. So that's the kind of hero we're kind of looking for. It's somebody who takes long odds at some extraordinary outcome. Okay, so in the ICO world, who are the heroes? I actually think that the heroes are anyone who's kind of putting their neck out there and creating something, whatever it is, a new kind of coin or a new token that does something exciting for us, or something that's tied to the blockchain that improves healthcare, or something that transforms government in some way or another, makes it more of a virtual thing. Governments really should be virtual, and they should compete for us, all of us. And I think that's the kind of hero that I'm looking for. I'm looking to back a hero that has the energy and excitement to try to transform some industry or another, because he or she has identified a technology that might just be able to take on the big behemoth, the big monopoly.
Right. Hear that, guys? Tim Draper is looking for new ICO heroes.
And he's giving you advice on how to be one. Well, you're a hero in a sense because you're going along with Bitcoin. I love your Bitcoin tie, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, You know who gave this to me?
Who?
Was some high school guy, nice high school guy, came to me and he said, "Hey, will you come and speak to our investment club?" And I was thinking, oh, what fun. I'm going to go to a high school and speak to the investment club. And just as I was on my way over there, he said, well, the word got out and the whole school's going to be there. And so anyway, I spoke to the whole school. And then he awarded me this tie.
Oh,
and
wow.
it says Amador Valley Investment Club.
Aw.
Yeah, Rahul. He's a good man, really bright guy. He has really interesting theories on Bitcoin and what it's going to be worth down the road. And it might be similar to what I was predicting. We haven't really compared notes for a while, but I think it probably is.
Well, what made you decide to invest in Bitcoin in 2014?
Well, so I invested in Bitcoin in 2012.
Oh, my bad.
No, I did it, no.
Twice?
And then, yeah. And I did it then because there was this Korean guy, and he came to me and he said, hey, that was in 2004 or something. And he said, hey, about half of Korea is playing this game. And one game, it was called Legend or something. And he said, yeah, and so it's such a big deal. We're kind of living in this virtual world. It's such a big deal that I hired a guy to be my avatar when I'm at work so that I could advance in the game. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. They're all living this virtual world. And I thought, well, maybe it's quirky to Korea or
It's
something.
like Snow Crash.
Right. So then I started to think, wait a second. And then he said, oh, and I'm buying my son a sword for $40. And I thought that was a non sequitur, but he was talking about a virtual sword. And so he's using fiat money for a virtual sword. And then I thought, wow, that's interesting. We could have a whole economy in this virtual world. And so I was watching, and then Bitcoin came along. And there was and I said, this is huge. This is great. And I backed the first Bitcoin company, which, I think it was the first, called Coin Lab. And they took, and I also said, hey, okay, and go get me some of that Bitcoin. Here's $250,000.
Wow.
So he took that and some other money. And he said, okay, I'm not going to get you the coin, but I'm going to make an ASIC so that we can mine the coin and so we can get it much cheaper. So he goes and he designs and creates this ASIC and hands it off to this group, Butterfly Labs. Well, Butterfly Labs took the ASIC after it was designed and mined for themselves for a long time before they finally said, oh, okay, now we'll give it to you. So it was delivered about 6 months late. So Bitcoin went from 6 to 36 during that time. Well, anyway, he mined some Bitcoin and he stored it at Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was at the time the biggest exchange in the world and biggest Bitcoin exchange in the world. And then, of course, Mt. Gox disappeared the money and we lost the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So then I thought, oh, that's the end. I thought, well, whatever. We gave it another shot and it was just another loss. But then Bitcoin only dropped about 15% on that news. You would think it would have gone to zero. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the end of the end. Mm-hmm. But no, it just dropped 15%. And then it went up the next day. And I thought, whoa, the biggest exchange just collapsed. Mm-hmm. And they're still going. So I thought, they really need this. The world needs this. And then I thought about who needs it? The unbanked. If you go to the bank here and try to open an account for, $12, they say, well, forget it, go away, because it's going to cost $200 a year just to regulate you. And so why would I take an account for $10 when I have to just keep throwing money into regulation? So I thought, wow, there is a real need there in the unbanked. So that's like 3 billion people that are a part of the world economy. So when there was this I was buying a little bit of Bitcoin along the way, but when there was this opportunity to buy a lot of Bitcoin from the U.S. Marshal's office that had been confiscated from the Silk Road guys, I thought, wow, this is really an interesting opportunity. And there were about 19 bidders, and I knew most of them, and I knew what they were sort of thinking. They were all going to bid below market. So I thought, well, I'll just bid above market. and we'll see what happens. They thought they'd get a quantity discount. And I thought, well, I'll just bid above market. And I got the entire, all 9 lots, which was more than I kind of thought I was going to get. But I thought, well, okay, I've bought it, and now there's so many interesting things I can do with it. And so I got very excited about it. Bitcoin has, and then I looked so stupid. It was 632 when I bought it. It slid straight down to 180. And when it was about 300, still sliding down, was when I made my prediction that it was going to be 10,000 in 3 years. And everybody said, oh, he's not only stupid, but he's crazy. And they're right about both. But somehow we hit the 10,000 in 3 years. It was exactly on the number. And so then all of a sudden I was the visionary.
You're the hero.
Knew everything.
Because you made the prediction and you were right.
I made the prediction, I was right.
I
made the prediction on air, and then they showed it on air. So it was like I've not only predicted it, but it's like videotaped.
Wow.
There.
Proof.
Yeah, total proof. So we've had a lot of fun with it, and I didn't make any predictions after that for a long time because I thought, well, let's just let it all settle out. And then I thought, okay, it's time for another prediction, and I wanted to introduce my book.
Oh yeah, we got to promote the
Startup Hero. Yes.
This is the how to be the startup hero, and so if you want to go start something, here it is. This is you got to read this.
It's your textbook.
It is the textbook, and it's what drives us now at Draper University.
Yeah.
And the reason I felt like I could write a book was that I taught at Draper University for so many years. I thought, I'm starting to repeat myself.
Yeah.
Why don't I just write this down, let them read it? They don't even have to put up with me in the classroom. But I'm still teaching. We'll see.
Well, it's the perfect time to make your prediction because of the launch of your book. How did you come up with that number, 250 by 2022? 2022,
yeah. So that's about 4 years out. And the prediction that got me to 10,000 was they are going to make it easy enough to use so that anyone can start trading it, and they can use it for a store of value, and people will say, okay, that's something I can get behind. And that was the beginning. Now I actually think people are going to be able to spend it on the street, and it'll be in a credit card kind of thing, or off your phone. You'll be able to spend your Bitcoin. And so then I thought, okay, well then it starts replacing fiat currency. So right now there's about $80 trillion worth of fiat currency, so 80T. And the cryptocurrencies, I believe, will expand that market. So I think that the cryptocurrencies will eventually grow to maybe 100 trillion, and fiat currencies will fall from 80 trillion maybe down to 30 trillion, because we won't really want to use a currency that's not as flexible or global or decentralized or secure as these new currencies are. And so people will move away from fiat currency. Fiat currencies are like the dollar or the yen or the euro. But all the great engineers are now working on the cryptocurrencies, and so they're the ones that are going to move the world. And so we as a society will be much more successful and more prosperous because currency will not have as much friction to it. It's just like moving from shells to gold, or gold to the promise of gold, or promise of gold to the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Now you're on to something new, which is a currency that is created where the trusted third party are about 200,000 people watching over each one of those trades or changes. So we now have an amazing, big, huge market to go after. And I predicted that maybe Bitcoin would end up with maybe a 20% to 30% market share. And I sketched those out. So I think the asymptote is somewhere around 130 trillion, but only maybe 100 trillion will be crypto. And then maybe 20% of that might be Bitcoin. Well, it's going to take 10 or 15 years to get to that asymptote. So I'm thinking that along the way, we're gonna have Bitcoin at 250,000 by 2022. Now, that was one way I looked at predicting it. Another way was that it is a network effect. So if I have Bitcoin and no one else does, it's worthless. If I have Bitcoin and you have Bitcoin and we both recognize it, then we have one connection. If we bring in Rachel and then the three of us have Bitcoin, then there are three connections. And it grows. It's the square of how many nodes there are in the network. It's Metcalfe's law. So as right now there are 40 million Bitcoin wallets. I think that number will continue to grow, and so will the value of Bitcoin by the square of that. And then I have a third way that I looked at valuing Bitcoin, and that was it's in the spirits. I just feel it.
Oh, you feel it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling Bitcoin too. But do you really think that fiat is over? Are we going to see the end of fiat?
I think what we're going to see is fiat will look like carrying around change. So you'll go in and try to buy coffee with fiat, and the barista will laugh at you because they're going to say, well, what are you trying to give me here? But they'll still take it. Yeah. It's like I'm still taking quarters and dimes and nickels, but do you really have to buy this with quarters and dimes and nickels?
Wow.
Right.
Because it's going to be, there's so much more friction to fiat currency than there is to cryptocurrency. And I think you'll be able to buy it with Bitcoin or Ether or Bitcoin Cash or any number of different cryptocurrencies, and just do it on your phone, or by then it might be all in AR, might be in augmented reality, and we just sort of blink twice and we then
get your coffee.
Well, let's hope not. Yeah. Or else you'll be like, made you blink, but
made you blink twice. Here's another coffee. There it is again.
Don't close your eyes. Do you have any advice for crypto beginners? Because this is for the crypto curious, the Bad Crypto podcast.
The way I'd look at it is, I think just get involved a little. So go buy a little Bitcoin on Coinbase or put some crypto on a ledger. A ledger is just like a USB port that has little devices on it so that you can give it a password. It's very simple.
Is that a hardware wallet?
Yeah, it's a hardware wallet. So if you're worried about somebody taking your crypto,
right,
you can actually put it on a ledger, and so that can take down anything. That can take down Credo or Tezos or whatever. That can go on a ledger. And then when you pull that ledger out and you're holding it in your hand, you suddenly kind of think, wait a second, why am I paying for all these big bank buildings and all those employees when I can actually control my own money? It's right here. It's in my hands.
Yeah.
And you start to wonder, wait, maybe these big bank buildings are like the buildings you see in Las Vegas, where my son asked, well, he said, I'm gonna make so much money in Las Vegas. I said, see all those big buildings? Those were built on the backs of people like you who said they were going to make money in Las Vegas. It's the same kind of thing. You're handing banks money. They're risking that money. They're making money on your money. And they build those big buildings and hire all those people. All you need is a USB port, and you can hold all your money right there. Right. And then you can invest it yourself.
Right. It's in your control, I mean, for once, which is really revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting started, it's very easy. Just go to Coinbase as a first start. They have a very simple way of getting on, and then you can buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin. If you then want to go explore and get a little more adventuresome, you can get one of these ledgers and you can start buying these more obscure different cryptocurrencies.
Right. Do you teach a course on this here at Draper University by any chance?
We did. We did. What's really funny is Draper University is set up for heroes. It's set up for entrepreneurs who really want to go forward and do something extraordinary. And so people will come to Draper University and get that hero training. But, and that's in the fall, in the summer, it's like a 5-week program, and then it's 4 months in the fall. But in the spring, we have these other executive programs. And the other executive programs this year included blockchain intensive. And it was really extraordinary. We got great ratings on it, and people really learned a lot. It was a way that people could really intensively learn for about 5 days and even create their own coin.
Wow.
And by the way, you can create a coin in an hour. It's not hard.
Okay.
You can create a Rachel coin.
Wow, we saw the rhino coin.
We did, we saw the rhino.
Well, our
coin.
rhino coin was put together very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like in an afternoon.
Speaking of blockchain, is it really the new internet?
Okay, it's much, much bigger. The internet really did affect a lot of people. It got a lot of people involved in the world economy. But the blockchain has the potential to transform, and the internet transformed what? Communications, information through Google or Bing or whatever, gaming, all those games, they were much more interesting on the internet. All sorts of entertainment, music, all sorts of things got affected by this. Those were good-sized industries, really good sort of tens to hundreds of billions of dollars industries. Well, now the blockchain has the potential to transform industries that have historically been government regulated because they're so big. So banking, finance, investment banking, venture capital, real estate, insurance, healthcare, and government itself all can be completely transformed by this blockchain because it is the perfect ledger. It is the trusted third party. It's that source that we all go to for security and safety. And I feel much better, I feel much safer with my Bitcoin than I do with my fiat in Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo gets hacked all the time. It's like whack-a-mole, trying to keep people away.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
And no one's ever cracked so far the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yep, it's really good technology. Okay, well, that pretty much wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay,
You heard it first from Tim Draper, bigger than the internet. I'm Sarah Austin with Rachel Wolfson.
And this is the Bad Crypto Podcast. Stay bad, everyone. Tim, tell them to stay bad.
Stay bad, baby. Stay bad.
Thank you. Awesome.
All right,
Thanks,
cutting
Sarah. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for episode 120 of the Bad Crypto Podcast. I'm Sarah Austin.
And I'm Rachel Wolfson.
And we are the Crypto Chicks.
We are the Bad Crypto Chicks.
I guess we are. We're the Bad Crypto Chicks. So you guys, I hope y'all stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.